The Los Angeles Rams are 7-2 in their last 9 games, and they have caught fire at the right time. When I look at Matthew Stafford, he is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But it's more than just Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua. When you look at the Los Angeles Rams, they're finding ways to win football games besides just going out there and relying on the offense, and especially Matthew Stafford. A month ago, they lost against the Miami Dolphins, Monday Night Football. They lost that game because they were not able to score an offensive touchdown. In yesterday's game, they did not score an offensive touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers. They found a way to win the game. Their defense has stepped up in the last 9 games, and their offense has gotten healthier. For the ones that don't know, this offensive line has not been fully healthy for the entire season up to this point. When I look at this offensive line, it's one of the better units to have in the NFL. Are they the Detroit Lions of the NFL when you talk about from the tackle to tackle position? No, but they're very good enough. If we go back to the year after they won the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford, he was contemplating retirement because of the back injury that he suffered. And he was not the same quarterback that he was a year before because the offensive line was not the same. I look at this offensive line now. You have good players across the board. You have Kevin Dotson at the right guard position. Big Rob has been holding things down at the right tackle position. He's phenomenal right there. Alaric Jackson did miss some time earlier this season dealing with a suspension, but he's a very good left tackle to have. And Steve Avila, I can't say enough good things about this kid. When he came out of TCU, he could play left guard, he could play center, he could play right guard. And a lot of the Rams' rushing success is coming from behind him. This offensive line is very good, and they are a sneaky unit. And they're one of the reasons to why the Los Angeles Rams offense has looked good this season, even when they were dealing with injuries and dealing with suspension. Give Sean McVay a lot of credit for that and the offensive line coach, but I want to give these players their respect. But it's more than just the offensive line, and it's more than just Matthew Stafford. Trust me, I'm gonna get into the stars of the team. But when I look at DeMarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell, 2 very annoying wide receivers to cover. Because you have a guy in Puka Nacua who's killing you the entire game. You have a guy in Cooper Kupp who's giving you a lot of problems. Then you look deep down the field. Tutu Atwell is wide open. This man is a major deep threat in the NFL, and he's been a very good player. The first couple of years of his career, they were rough, but this man is a very good football player. And we saw this over a month ago in that first game with the San Francisco 49ers. There was no Puka Nacua. There was no Cooper Kupp. They were both injured. So DeMarcus Robinson and also Tutu Atwell, they had to show up. And those guys also showed up in that first encounter with the Seattle Seahawks when they won that game 26-20. They're good depth pieces, but they can also come in and they can fill in a void that Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua may leave with this roster if they have to be out for the next couple of weeks. And they have done this in the past. So those injuries that those guys are dealing with, they're really a blessing in disguise because it has helped develop DeMarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell. Now, obviously, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, they're better players than Tutu Atwell and DeMarcus Robinson, but they're going to be great moving forward if they can make the NFL playoffs. And this also another reason to why this team's going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL playoffs if they can find a way to win out for the rest of the season. Because of the veteranship that they have. Sean McVay has been to the Super Bowl before, not once but twice. He lost the first one against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. The second time he went was against the Cincinnati Bengals. He won that championship with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. They know what it takes to be here and to be in this situation. And this team made the NFL playoffs last season against the Detroit Lions, and they were just a couple plays away from defeating the Detroit Lions. This is going to be a scary team to face if they find a way to go out there and make a deep playoff run. And I'm telling you right now, with the pieces that they have, they can do this. They do have a bunch of things on defense that I am worried about, but this offense, they're in good shape. You have Kyren Williams, who has been the best running back with the Los Angeles Rams since Todd Gurley. Kyren Williams is a very good football player. The only thing that concerns me are the fumbles. That's it. He's had a lot of fumbles in the last 2 years of his career. But when I look at Kyren Williams, very good football player. He has the 3rd most rushing yards in the NFL. He has 12 rushing touchdowns, and they use him as a mini wide receiver in the red zone. We saw this happen against the Minnesota Vikings. They would kick him inside the slot. He is part of the engine to this offense. He is a great player playing behind this line of scrimmage. And you were worried about his touches if you're a fantasy owner because they drafted Blake Corum. But the kid is so good and he's so electric coming out of the backfield. And the one thing that we know with Sean McVay, The offensive line has to go out there and block and hold up for the quarterback so he can get through his progressions. But this offense has always led heavy on the running back position. Dating back to when he had Jared Goff and Todd Gurley, they ran the offense through the running back, and they're doing the same thing here. We can get stuck on Cooper Kupp and Kupp and Nacua and those weapons on the perimeter. But it starts in the trenches, and it starts with a run game. Every team that has been to a Super Bowl, they have had one thing in common, for sure. They have been able to run the football at a high clip later in the season. And that's what the Rams have done in the last 9 games, and especially for this entire season, is feed Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. Kyren Williams gets majority of the carries. He's first in touches in the NFL. And then you have Blake Corum, who can come in third down situations. As long as Kyren Williams doesn't fumble the football, you're going to be okay. Now we can get into the fun part with Kupp and Nacua and Cooper Kupp. 2 phenomenal players. They're really similar. When you look at Kupp and Nacua, he's the more physical, faster wide receiver. You look at Cooper Kupp, he's more technical, but they're very similar in terms of route running and getting yards after the catch. Cooper Kupp is so amazing. Even when he's dealing with all the injuries, it was a lot of rumors that he was on the trade block this season. I'm happy that they did not trade Cooper Kupp because he is still one of the best route runners in the NFL. And you look at Kupp and Nacua, he's more so the wide receiver that's going to go deep down the field. You can use him on post routes, use him on slant routes. He is an aggressive yak monster, yards after the catch. And he's an amazing deep threat. And you look at Cooper Kupp, you can't go out there and put roll coverage on either guy. You can't double team either player. So it leads you into one-on-one situations, and it stretches out the defense. That also opens up the run game. And when they start to use motion with Cooper Kupp and Kupp and Nacua, that's when you're in trouble. They can stack both wide receivers on top of each other. They get the tight ends involved. A lot of wide receivers get one-on-one looks because of the mere presence of Cooper Kupp and Kupp and Nacua. That's why Tutu Atwell has been so successful this season, and also Demarcus Robinson. It's hard to just put your third or fourth best corner on a guy like Demarcus Robinson, because he is so good. And with some teams, he will be the number 2 wide receiver. That is how stacked this team is right now at that position. They're finding ways to win football games even when Kupp and Nacua or Cooper Kupp are missing games. And I do want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals loss. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals 41-10. No Kupp and Nacua in that matchup, and your offensive line was not fully healthy. I believe in a couple weeks when they face the Arizona Cardinals again, I believe the Los Angeles Rams will win that game. And their next game is against the New York Jets. The New York Jets are one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're going to find a way to go out there and possibly blow them out by 20-plus points. Let's just be honest here, because of the pieces that they have. But I'm very impressed with the Los Angeles Rams. They're finding ways to win. It may not be pretty, but to see them go out there and not score an offensive touchdown and to lose the game against the Dolphins and just a few weeks later find a way to win the game against the San Francisco 49ers by not scoring an offensive touchdown, it says a lot about this defense and how much they've grown throughout this entire season with a brand new defensive coordinator and Chris Shula. Because Raheem Morris was the defensive coordinator last season. He's now the head coach with the Atlanta Falcons. And you do worry about that. Bringing in a brand new defensive coordinator, a guy that hasn't went out there and called plays just yet, but he's always been with the Rams coaching staff. So he does have a rapport with the linebackers and with the defensive line. And that's where this defense is best at. Their secondary is around average in the NFL. They do give up big plays, but they also come with some big moments. When you look at a guy like Cameron Curl, solid safety to have. I like Kobe Durant at the cornerback position. You also have Darius Williams, who is a solid veteran cornerback that they picked up when the Jacksonville Jaguars cut him. They had Tre'Davious White. He really didn't fit the system. They traded him to the Baltimore Ravens. The secondary is nothing to write home about. But when I look at this defensive line and this front seven, that's where their money is going to be made. Jared Verse is a very good pass rusher. Byron Young, even dating back to last season, is very good coming off the edge and putting a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. Sometimes it's not about just going out there and racking up sacks. It's about making the quarterback uncomfortable and knocking him off his spot. And we saw that against the San Francisco 49ers. They were on Brock Purdy the entire day. And the same against Tua Tagovailoa. They were on Tua the entire day. This is a young, ferocious defensive line, and I was worried about this defensive line without Aaron Donald. They still do miss him because he's one of the best defensive players the NFL has ever seen. But you look at Kobe Turner. This kid has not dropped off at all. Led the rookies in sacks last season with 9.5. You look at him this year. The sack production may not be there, but he is still able to push the pocket and stop the run. And you also have Braden Fisk, who you also drafted in this year's draft class with Jared Verse. And they were both teammates in college with Florida State University. So in the blink of an eye, they went out there and they reshaped this defensive line through the NFL draft in one offseason. And they're going to only continue to get better as the years progress. But I'm very impressed with Byron Young, Jared Verse, and Braden Fisk. It's going to be hard to run the football on this team, and that has been the case over the last 5 games. If you look at their rushing statistics right now, they're not the best because early on in the season, there were not many gap responsibilities for the middle linebacking position and the left outside linebacker position. But over the last 5 games, they have toned down and they found a way to just contain the run. And they can go out there and win shootouts also. We've seen this defense go out there and surrender 42 points to the Buffalo Bills. And they won that game because of an offensive explosion. Josh Allen had 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 3 passing touchdowns. They found a way to win that game with their offense and their special teams. Their special teams went out there. They had a block punt that went for a touchdown. They're finding ways to win football games with their offense, their defense, and their special teams. And this is what good teams do in the NFL. They find ways to win. It doesn't matter if it's by 2 or 3 points. A win is a win. And I'm impressed right now with the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a hard team to beat in the NFL playoffs for sure. And I want to talk about their playoff scenarios before I let you guys go. If they win out, they make the NFL playoffs, they host a playoff game. That's the best case scenario. And you look at their schedule, they face the New York Jets next, then they'll face the Arizona Cardinals, and they face the Seattle Seahawks at home. You look at the Seattle Seahawks schedule, it's a little bit tougher. They face the Green Bay Packers. But if the Seattle Seahawks win out into the last week of the season, whoever wins that game between the Rams and the Seahawks will make the NFL playoffs. And I do also look at it from this standpoint. The Rams have went out there and they swept the San Francisco 49ers this year. That is major. They have to split with the Arizona Cardinals and find a way to beat the Seattle Seahawks in the last game of the season. If they can do that, they'll make the NFL playoffs, and you have to play the Los Angeles Rams at home. And that's going to be a scary place to be in when you're facing a team that has been here before. I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and win the NFL Super Bowl and find a way to make a magical push. But when I look at the NFC right now, your top tier teams are the Detroit Lions. And the Rams went into overtime with the Lions in week 1. These are 2 completely different teams, but they were in a close football game last playoff season. You have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles did go on the road. They did take care of business against the Los Angeles Rams. That's a bit of a tough situation right there because the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL. And then you look at the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams went out there and they defeated the Minnesota Vikings. So the Rams are not far off from being in Super Bowl contention if you want to be honest with yourself. But with all of that being said, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Los Angeles Rams? And do you believe that they will make the NFL playoffs? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.